Okay, July 8, 2020, fired up about this next talk. We're going to talk about what makes a man or woman great. What makes a man or woman great? I've spent a lot of time thinking about it. I've studied it. I've read books, and I think I'm gonna try to encapsulate it here in 10 minutes and encourage you to look further into it. But here's the thing. I think that the number one thing that makes a man or a woman great is they've got to have the right drive, right? The right motivation of why they're doing it, right? There's always the saying, what's your why? What's your why? Right? And I think there's a lot of validity to that. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Is you got to know why you're out there pounding doors. I mean, what are you trying to accomplish? Right? So I'll talk to guys, and they've got these beautiful wives, these wonderful wives that they married way above their pay grade. They should not even have anywhere close to this good of a wife. And you know what? And those wives are depending on you to be successful. Right? So what I tell people to do, and what I've done my entire career, because I've got the best wife, the most beautiful wife, and I literally will look at her before I leave for work, and I will just be like, you know what? I'm providing for her. I'm providing for her. She trusted me. She married me so that I could take care of her, and that's my job, is to provide for her, right? And then you know, you get married, and then you have kids, and I'm looking at your kids, and you're looking at, you know, your grandkids all the way down the line, and that is the reason why you're out there working. So what happens with that? Let's talk about that for a second. So I don't ever have a bad day. Right? I'm never in a bad mood. I don't have these mood swings, right? Because that option is not on the table, right? I don't have that type of flexibility to have a bad day. And guess what? She doesn't care about how I feel. She wants me to provide for her, right? Some of you guys are just getting married. Some of you guys maybe even aren't even married, right? You know, some of you young guys that just got married, I've met your wives, right? I don't know how you ended up with that wife. But guess what? She's counting on you. And there's so many freaking pansy men out there that don't provide for their wife or provide for their family. And they're all interested, well, I like to do this. This is really within my interests. You know, I don't care about your dang interests. What I care about is what's going to be best for your family. That should be your interest, actually. Let's restate that. Your interest should be what's best for your family. And guess what? If that's best for my family, then I'm going to do that. That's why I'm in roofing. Right? I didn't ever even put on a roof before we started this thing. So what does that really look like? You know, that looks like, you know what, you bought them a nice house, you got them a nice apartment. They shouldn't suffer, right? You should stretch yourself, right? I've walked in the house where guys have sparse furniture, right? They're all on the Ramsey program, which is a great financial program, but guess what? They make their families suffer. Why don't you go out and make more money, do better, right? And that way you can provide for your family. Now, if you're doing everything you can, and you know what, you got to buy your stuff at a garage sale, then God bless you, man. That's great. Total respect for that. But if you're sitting there taking an hour lunch, you know, you're not pounding, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and then you're not making money, and therefore your family's suffering. I got a problem with that. I got a problem with that with myself. So I'm hardest on myself as well. Getting up early, staying up late, not watching TV, working out, going to church, just doing it all. Doing it all. That's what a great man does. All right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. We got some great men at our company. I was talking to Blake the other day, and he was just telling me, he's like, you know, Charlie, he was talking to one of his friends, and his friends was saying he was in a bad mood, or he just didn't, you know, he just wasn't motivated. And Blake was just perplexed because he's looking at me, and he had no idea I was going to do this talk. He's like, I don't even understand, Charlie. Those types of emotions aren't even like, they don't even register with me. I don't have those. I'm not allowed to have those. And I remember I was thinking, because I was getting ready for this, I was like, yeah, Blake, I get it. I understand why. Because nobody freaking wants to take care of his family more than Blake LaMoney. Again, just to remind everybody, it's a great story. It's one of my favorites. He called me originally and asked me for a job. But he didn't ask me for a job to sell. He asked for a job to work on the cruise. That's a guy with a doctorate in theology that wants to work on the cruise. And he said, I'm trying to put my daughter Emmy through college. So there you go. There's a good example. I remember one time in one of our meetings, Stephen Schaaf, who's a big stud salesman, he was talking about pound. Everybody's like, Stephen, how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? And he's kind of telling what he was doing. But one of the things he said that stuck out in my mind, he says, you get a pound every single day. And if I miss a day, it scares the crap out of me. And the reason why it scares me is because this thing can turn into a shipwreck quicker than you can believe. And that's exactly right. This thing can turn into a shipwreck and disaster quicker than you can imagine. And that's what Satan wants, right? It's not going to happen. No one makes the decision, I think I'm going to blow a perfectly good job, and I think I'm going to just ruin my life and then lose my house and, everything else and not become all in one sweet. No, it's just the little decisions every day. The little decisions about pounding every single day. And so that's what we need to do. We need to freaking get after it every single day. And if you have a bad day, which I've had bad days, I don't want to say I haven't had bad days, you catch it immediately. And you get really upset and you don't allow it to happen a second day. Right? You don't allow it to happen a second day. And whatever demons you got in your mind, get over it. Just do whatever it takes to be successful. Right? We've got this thing in our company where some guys, they just cannot get over doing residential. They just have to do residential because it's easy and it's comfortable. And they know darn well that commercial is a way better use of time. Right? You can do 5 residential, 1 commercial. And it'll be the same thing. You'll actually make more money in the commercial. And it's easier, and I won't give you all the reasons. You know the reasons. But for some reason, people just get in their mind, I'm just more comfortable here. I don't care about your comfort. And whatever you have in your mind, just get over it and just work on it and just pray about it and just force yourself to do it. The best way to do it is to force yourself to do it. Just get out there and just hit 30 a day and live in day-tight compartments, right? Don't look at the year. Don't look at the month. Live in day-tight compartments. They talk a lot about that in Alcoholics Anonymous and the other Anonymous program. Just live for today. I think that's why God in the Bible has a day and a night, because it's a fresh start. Don't worry about what you did before, right? I've talked to people that are just bemusing and they're kind of mourning how they screwed up yesterday and the week before and last month and years before and maybe their whole career. You know what? I'm sorry that happened. Let's just spend about a half hour mourning that. But you know what? It's gone. It's over. Change it right now and become all that God intended you to be, right? And the way you do that is you wake up, and it's not about you. Again, it's not about you. So whatever you did in the past, who cares, right? I'm sorry that your feelings got hurt. I'm sorry that company mistreated you. I'm sorry your career didn't turn out the way you thought it was going to turn out. I'm sorry that you studied the wrong thing in college. Whatever, man. We all done it. So what you do is you live in day-tight compartments and you look forward, not backward. Satan wants you to look backward. Christ wants you to look forward. He says, every morning I'm afresh, I'm anew, I'm here for you. So that's what you do. And the way you do it, again, you wake up, you look at your wife, you look at your family, and that's who you go after. And you say, hey, Charlie, that's great for you. Yeah, I'm not married. Guess what? I'm not married. I work with a ton of young people, and I always talk to them, and they're like, well, I really want to have a great husband or a great wife. I say, you know what? I've been through that. I wanted to have a great wife, I wanted to have a great wife. And the way you do it is you become, this is big, you become the kind of person that great woman or man would be attracted to, right? A lot of guys make the mistake, young people make the mistake, is as soon as I meet that right person, then I'm going to become who God intended me to be. Now, guess what? It doesn't work that way. Because that person is not going to be attracted to you, right? So you got to do it now. You got to make it happen now. And then when that right person comes along, you're going to be worthy of such a wonderful gift. So anyway, I won't do a relationship video here, but that's important, right? So it applies to everybody. It applies to everybody. And a great salesman takes care of his family. I suffer so my family can succeed, right? I suffer, I pound, I work my butt off every freaking day, as hard as I possibly can, so my family can succeed. I want to spoil the crap out of my wife. right? I want her to be able to stay home, take care of the kids. I want to send my kids to the school they want to go to. I want to give them every opportunity. Doesn't mean I want to spoil them. They're going to be respectful and everything else. We'll get it. That's not on this video, but it doesn't mean. But I'm gonna make sure they have every opportunity that I can provide, that God can help me provide. Okay. So anyway, it is so easy to screw this up, right? The fragility of it all, the fragileness of your career is extraordinary, right? So I've met people that just are not. I've had a lot of people actually that have not really been producing the way they're supposed to produce, and then they're not because they're not pounding, right? And so all of a sudden they come to me like with this big revelation, Charlie, I just don't like my job. I don't know. It's just not for me. I just have my interests lie otherwhere. And I look at them and they think I'm going to be all surprised by this. I'm like, bro, I don't like your job either. I wouldn't like your job. That would be in fact, if you're gonna perform like this, you should quit today. Because guess what? You could work at Subway or somewhere else and have a much better experience than you are here. What you're doing sounds like the worst job in the world. Sitting around, stressing out about knocking on doors, but not doing it, not making any money, not having any kind of structure to your day. Yeah, that sounds miserable to me too. I don't blame you. But guess what? What you need to do is you need to do the job like you're supposed to do it, make the kind of money you're supposed to make, and then decide whether you like the freaking job. And actually, I don't even care if you like the job. I know you will like the job, right? But I can tell you for sure it's a miserable job if you're not doing it correctly. So, and it is so easy to screw up, right? It just takes one day. You gotta be afraid of one day, right? If you go and you don't have a structured day and you haven't accomplished stuff, you need to really be frightened. Because guess what? One day turns into 2, and 2 days turn into 3, 3 days turn into 4, and all of a sudden you got a shipwreck, like Steven said. This whole thing, and it's so hard to turn it around. It is so hard to turn it around. Okay, I'm gonna give you a good example here. Okay, there are certain steps and certain what would be the right word? There's a plan to how to do it, right? So there's a way you need to grow your career and how you should grow. Okay, so when you start, we're just going to use sales. We're just going to use the sales example here at Lifetime Construction, right? So the first year you're getting used to it, right? And you're getting after it. And you got a new career, and you can't believe the freedom. You love it. Great company. You love the people. Everything's going great, right? And you need to, within your first full year cycle, hopefully you can do it 6 months, 8 months. If you start halfway through the year, you need to get it to $1 million. That should be where you're at, right? $1 million, right? And then you get a nice pay raise and blah, 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 and everything's going great and you love it, right? And so then the next year is a tricky one, right? The next year is I love my job, but sort of the newness of it is stopped. And so all of a sudden you start getting cocky because you got money in the bank, you don't have the stress you had before, and so you stop doing what you did to get you to the $1 million. And this is like the greatest tragedy in the world, right? Because your skill set is so much higher that had you just kept going and getting after it, you would do extraordinary things. And the next step, you should double that, right? You should double it. Not go 10%, 20%, 5%. I just got a little bit better. No, it doesn't work that way in sales. It does not work that way in sales. You should be doubling and having massive increases, because the better you get, the skill sets, the result of your improvements with regards to sales is exponential. So now let's just say the next year you get to 2 million. And the next year you get to 4 million. And the next year, who knows? We don't even know how far it can go, right? I don't know how far it can go, but we're gonna find out. But the key is you gotta freaking work as hard as you can for your family. And just get after it and just see where it ends up. But what happens is, right, it's different for everybody, but they just screw it up right here. Maybe they screwed up right here. And then what happens is you just say, you know, this isn't for me. Because guess what? If you're not working hard every day, all of a sudden you start getting depressed. Because God wants you to work hard. We're meant to work hard. And it feels good to work hard. Nothing feels better than to put in a good, hard day. Nothing feels better than to do a job correctly. Right? So maybe you don't hit this exactly. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. But as long as you're working hard, you will continue to get through there. Everybody's got more demons than somebody else, right? I've had guys that are working here, man, that just spend a lifetime doing the wrong thing. And I get it. That's going to take a little bit longer than some young guy out of college or some young guy that just had maybe a short career before he came here. I get that, right? That's going to take a minute to clear the mind. But here's my point of this whole thing. One is, you have to do it this way. This is the way it should look. It's not this gentle 10% increase. That's the first thing. But this is the second thing I think is even more important. Is that if you miss one of these steps, it is freaking disaster. So what I mean by that, let's just say a guy comes out and he's got the first year he does great. He's listening to everything he's supposed to do. He does everything he's supposed to do. He loves it. And then the second year, he doesn't hit this $2 million mark. In fact, he just goes up maybe 5% or maybe it's 10%. Maybe he just stays right in here, right? He doesn't really improve. And you think, Charlie, what's so bad about that? What happens is he never recovers. I've never seen anybody recover from not hitting these proper steps. Because what this indicates is that he wasn't working hard. In most cases, it indicates he was not working hard. And you say, well, can't he just all of a sudden get his butt in gear and get kicked by his wife or something happen, or maybe he has a kid and that'll really motivate him? You know what, you would think so, but I've never seen it. I've never in my career seen it. And what got me thinking about this, because I've seen many times at different companies, friends of mine, salesmen here sometimes, that blew these steps, right? They came out, they were on fire. They were going to be the next greatest salesman, right? They had it all right there. And then they just sabotaged themselves. And they just stopped working hard, and they just said, you know what, Charlie, I don't need any more than $100,000. I don't need any more than $150,000. This covers all my bills. Well, that's special, and I'm happy for you, but the problem is that it's not going to stay there, right? You're gonna collapse, and it will be disaster, and you are going to blow it. And it happens every single time. And then you might think, well, that's just a lesson learned. I'm sure that person will learn a hard lesson, and the next job they won't do that again. You hope that. I wish that would happen. I've kept an eye on this through the years. Guys that do that, they never recover. Never. They never really get up here. At the other job, at this job, it never happens. And I always wondered why. Well, I think the reason why is because if you're going to blow a year, I mean, like I said, I've blown days. I've even had a few bad weeks. I don't remember having a bad month. I'll be honest with you, man. And if you've had a bad month, I'm not trying to rip on you, but I'm just saying it's disaster. You can't allow it to happen. That's why I'm saying it's so fragile. But you got to be scared to death of blowing this opportunity. You got to be scared to death of blowing it. And you can blow it in a lot of ways, with work ethic, attitude, thinking that the office is screwing you over, the company's making too much money, my commissions aren't high enough, the supplementers aren't doing their thing. You know, you can come up with all kinds of reasons. But I'm telling you, you got to be humble and grateful, and we can certainly work on those items if they're not going correctly. But you got to understand, this is the greatest opportunity that I've ever found. And I always tell people, listen, I don't have a thing about roofing. I didn't grow up with roofing. I didn't, it's just, I've never seen anything like it. It still keeps me up at night. 13, 14 years later, well, crap, I'm here doing a video early in the morning because I'm just so pumped up about it. And it's a gift from God. And it's not because I'm smart. It's not because you're smart. God just put us in the spot, and it is an extraordinary business. And I'm going to take full advantage of it. and I'm going to work my butt off so that I can look my wife in the eye and say, you know what, I did everything I possibly could for my family. I'm going to look at my kids. So, you know, I did everything I could to teach you and to provide for you and give you the best opportunities I could. And you know what, if I was single, I'm going to say I'm going to become the kind of person that's going to get an extraordinary wife. It's going to get an extraordinary husband, right? I'm going to grow myself so that person is going to be attracted to me. Okay? So we're going to come in from a position of strength together. So anyway, I hope that helps. And of course, you know, this isn't just some philosophy that I came up with that might work like Ayn Rand or something, but what it is it's all biblical. We check everything with our sales manual, which is the Holy Bible, which is God's Word, right? 2 Corinthians 4:7 says, but we have this treasure, I know you can't see this, but we have this treasure in jars of clay. It's in jars of clay. It's not steel jars. Very fragile jars. That's why it's jars of clay. And when they break open. You can't fix a jar of clay. So you got to be very careful not to drop it. We have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the surpassing power belongs to God and not us. Again, wake up every morning, pray. God will power you through this. He can overcome those demons. In fact, of course, he's the only one that can overcome the demons. He will overcome these demons and just keep them out. And just go and just hit this mark. Hit this mark of just up, 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 up. And if you ever catch yourself going off in the left lane and going off the highway, stop it. Understand it's very serious. Set your alarm for 4 a.m. the next morning and say, this won't happen 2 days in a row. I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to run 5 miles. I'm going to be in the field by 7 a.m. and I'm going to hit not 30 but 40 doors. I'm going to hit 50 doors. I'm going to overcome what I did today. And just take it day by day, because every day is a fresh day for the Lord. That's why he has the night and day, right? So we can start over. And don't look back. I don't care what you did in the past. It doesn't matter how bad you screwed it up. I know my past is shameful. But you know what? I'm looking forward to what God has in store for me, because he saved me. He restored me. I am brand new. I'm a new creature made in him. And I plan on making the most of that new creature. All right? And may God be the glory.